episode of A Date with a Star. We do apologize tremendously because we've had some technological challenges and we're going to go very quickly. So on this episode, I will be your host, and my name is Pamela Bonki. And thank you for joining us. We promise you an entertaining and very informative exchange and discussion. So stay tuned and please do not forget to share the link with your connections and your network and send your questions from our very special guests. So who do we have for you today? As you may already know, this gentleman, he's feted and considered as controversial in equal measure. Professionally, a software engineer and corporate management trainer, he is the founder and CEO of the Institute of Rural Technology, which has facilitated employment for over 600 Cameroonian youth and counting. Politically, he's an aide to Sisuku Ayutabe Julius, the leader of a pro-independent movement of Ambazonia, a strong advocate for secession as a solution for the Cameroon Anglophone crisis. He is described by his fans as the fearless one. And that is not all. A devout Muslim, he is an avid debater on issues related to comparative religion, referring to himself as the Muslim scholar of the Christian Bible. So without further ado, welcome Mr. Abdulkarim Ali, everyone. So welcome on the show, Mr. Ali, and thank you so much for joining us. We are pleased that you could make the time, given that you're a very busy gentleman, and so we appreciate you accepting an invitation to hold this discussion. So we apologize about the earlier technical issues as well. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, ma'am, Pamela.
Okay. So just out of curiosity, what did you have for breakfast today? And forgive the very abstract nature of this question.
That's all right. Let me begin by praising our Creator and Fashioner and ask Him to send His blessings upon His prophets and righteous men and women who've lived, and to yourself and to Southern Cameroonians and everyone. Yeah, before I answer the question, what I had for breakfast, let me correct a few statements that you might have put out of context, in my opinion. I'm not an advocate for secession. Southern Cameroonians are not secessionists. We are restorationists. Those are two different appellations, and they mean different things in several contexts. We are not trying to secede because we've never belonged to La République du Cameroon. These are two separate countries that came into a union, and it has been tortured, blattered, and one is saying they know where they came from. And then also, I don't refer to myself as a Muslim scholar. I am a Muslim scholar. It's not a reference. All right. And that said, I had potatoes and eggs for my breakfast this morning.
Oh wow, that sounds delicious. Offering clarity on secession and your position as a Muslim scholar. We'll get more into the secession issue later on in this discussion. So a lot of people really want to know more about you. And so we're going to start from the very beginning. From what I understand, you were born in Kumbu in the Boy division. Is that where you went to school?
Oh, that's a good question, and thanks for asking. No, I was born in Bowie, but I left, I think, when I was just an infant, probably 3 years or so. I can't remember. No, I studied in Bamenda.
Okay, thank you very much. So what did you study in high school or university?
Oh, yeah, in the high school, I studied what is referred to as A2. It's a code name for geography, history, and economics.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I added religion. And in the university, predominantly, I did information technology. And later on, I did management, and then I did comparative religion.
Well, that sounds interesting. It kind of how you got to be into real technology and your company as well. But then you're married, you're a father, and you've got children.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I hope I heard that clearly. Yeah, married 10 years ago. Yes, I have my child who is a son, Roshan Abdulkarim, and of course Priya Abdulkarim, a daughter. So I have two kids basically.
Congratulations on your wonderful. You did say that you studied Muslim or comparative religion at some point, but were you born Muslim or did you convert later on in life?
Oh no, yeah, I was born into a Muslim family, and curiosity out of a lot of interaction with my secondary school friends. I studied in a Presbyterian institution, Cameroon Protestant College. Yeah, out of curiosity, with my initial background of religious education and what I studied over 7 years in CPC Bali, I had to investigate more. I want to know about my God. I want to find out who He really is and what He stands for. So I decided to study deep and see the history of the books that I consider holy, both the Bible and the Quran. And I'm here today. That's what represents me, actually. I'm a product of my investigation. Yeah, so I wasn't, well, I was born a Muslim, but I'm not a Muslim simply because I was born a Muslim.
Okay, I think that's right, because most people tend to follow the faith in which they. So some people might, wonder if you weren't born Muslim, you would be Muslim, per se. But anyway, let's move on from that. You established your company, the Institute of Rural Technology. What motivated you to start RTech?
What actually motivated me was the fact that I got tired working for anyone. I opened Aerotech soon after I finished working for Samsung in Nigeria, Lagos. And yeah, and I tried working in my country, but the nepotism and the sectarianism and bigotry that exists between the two countries, being that one of the countries is superimposing its powers on the other. Yeah, I had no choice. And then I saw my mates as myself and others who were not privileged lingering around. I thought maybe helping as an entrepreneur, helping to train people in the corporate attitude development sector, and of course, giving sustainable solutions to basic IT and green energy solutions that I could. Yeah, so that was basically my motivation.
Okay, so the title of your institute of rural technology, you do call your company international. So that would imply that you worked not just in countries outside of Cameroon and within Africa, but outside of Africa as well. So why rural technology and then international?
Yeah, we have rural sectors, including in places like Czech Republic and India. Actually, yeah, initially that office was born in India, and India has a lot of a rural environment, and we put it in that sense so that we could always address rural problems. I'm sure even where you are in the UK, I don't know so much, but not in England probably, but in the UK you have some rural areas, won't you have?
Of course, there are rural areas in the UK. You work in India, you work with Zoom. And I was just wondering, is Zoom the internet, the online meeting platform, or is it another Zoom?
Oh, was that my? It says,
Because you said you've consulted or you've worked with a company in India called Zoom.
all right. Oh, okay. I got it now. Okay, yeah. Actually, when you study computer sciences and you specialize on something like Microsoft or Cisco, they expire sometimes. Your certifications, not the knowledge, but your certifications expire after a period of time. So because they do produce new softwares for Microsoft after 3 years basically, and Cisco sometimes 4 years, depending on the evolution of the world in terms of technology. So
Mhm.
I went to India back in 2005 to do an upgrade from MCSC 2003 to MCSC 2005 then. So I studied in Zoom, and then when I started, I was able to work with them. So they bought my services at one point in time. Yes.
Well, congratulations. You seem to be high tech. But the biography also mentions that you facilitated employment for over 600 Cameroonian youth. How did you manage such a feat?
Oh yeah. So IRTech, what happened is that I merged the little knowledge God gave me in terms of computer sciences and corporate attitude management. So what happened is that youths were coming out from Polytechnic in particular. So they came out, the education is half baked. As we know, the curriculum that La Republique has supervised is very, very weak. So they come out with certificates in their hands, HNDs and degrees, but very weak. So I took up to myself to prep them, give them attitude training, time management, how to make a CV, how to be best at whatever designation they choose. It be a waitress, a waiter, an accountant, and stuff like that. And then, of course, the company was connected to many, many other companies. So
Mm.
we solicited for jobs, and this is how we're able, by God's grace, to provide jobs for these people.
Okay,
So some were lucky to get jobs internationally, and some got it locally.
okay, so you're improving on the assumption, which is more around emotional intelligence,
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, those undergraduates and graduates wouldn't be trained for emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, we're training we offer to hierarchies of companies. Like we trained a series of companies, especially hotels. Part of their package for the training for hotel staff and other corporate staff is emotional intelligence. But I don't think a startup requires that, in my opinion.
right? Okay. So thank you for asking those preliminary questions. We can get to know you a little bit more. So we're going to take a bit of a pause here and read some comments from the audience. Um, and yeah, okay. So people saying there's too much echo. We're so sorry about that. We've had technological problems up till now, and we're just hoping that we can do the best of the situation. Um, okay. So just moving on from that first part of our interview, we're going to explore a bit more around your political activism, which is where the crux of the matter is and where most people are very excited to hear what you've got to say. So you have a very active professional life, but I've seen you referred to by many as a fearless one. How did that appellation come about?
Well, that is a word they've choose to use, not a word I've choose to use for myself. It's because of the tyrannic regime that we have that oppresses people at every level, suppresses the voices of reason and the voices of people living in their fatherland. So, at the heart of such tyranny, when people spoke, I'm sure the population want to say they're fearless. But I don't think I'm fearless. I think I'm pretty much afraid. But I think I know the truth and I stand by the truth and I go with the principle that neutrality is the motto of idiots. And the right thing to do is not to be neutral in terms of justice. You need to identify the truth and stand by it. So I think that that is it.
That's a very humble stance. Have you always been very humble?
Sorry, come again, please.
That is a very humble stance because you're saying the appellation of the fearless one was given to you by others. So very humble. But have you always been into political activism?
No, yeah, to correct that, I'm not a political activist, not at all. I don't even understand what politics really is. Um, I am a revolutionary. There's a big line, not just a fine one, a big line between politics and revolution. I don't even understand what politics is. It's true, I might have read some books in connection to politics. Anyway, any human being who've studied, you're connected to all these things pertaining academia. It be politics, religion, economics, science. So long as you're in the field of works, you get in touch with all these things. But basically, I'm not a political activist. I wouldn't consider myself to be a political activist because I don't know what politics is.
That's quite interesting. But I'll come back. So you were arrested by the of January this year. We're just trying to understand what happened.
Oh yeah, I was abducted. It would be an abduction because I know, um, according to the constitution of La Republique du Cameroon and probably that of the world, an arrest has a procedure, especially when someone is not accused of anything criminal. I was just picked up and I was taken to the office and later on brought back to the house. The house was searched. They took me to the office. The office was searched. Took me back to their office. No interrogation. Though I had an intelligent conversation with some of the night shifters of that particular police station. And then the next day I was released in between 6:30 7 a.m. So I don't know what I did. They didn't tell me, but probably people insinuated, and I would also assume that is because of what people consider to be fearless, going to TVs like yours and answering questions.
Okay, sorry, I'm just going to because people keep saying that they cannot hear me, and I hope that this is going to make things a lot better. People, okay, so you escaped your arrest or you weren't sent to jail, and most people would say that you were lucky to have escaped and not in jail as a being seen as an Ambazonia supporter. So what would you say to to that?
I don't know how someone supports himself. If by saying Ambazonia they're referring to Southern Cameroon, I cannot support Southern Cameroon. I am Southern Cameroon. So I only I'll be a coward that my people are dying for their rights, and I think I'm supposed to be somewhere else. So yeah, that is their cup of tea if they choose to lock up people because of such reasons. But I'm happy to be arrested or abducted for such a reason. There's nothing more besides my religion and my family that would make me happier than getting caught up in such a web of nonsense by an oppressor for my motherland.
Okay, so you say that you're not that you are, as in the Southern Cameroonians. But in your position, as you've already mentioned, someone who gives interviews, you find yourself on debating tables and you have very strong opinion about things. People do see you as someone to look up to. So do you think that by saying that you're not an Ambazonia supporter, you're kind of removing yourself away from the current discussions that are taking place and saying, okay, this, I'm just speaking as an individual, but yet people look up to you. Isn't that supposed to be some sort of responsibility?
I think I'm happy you asked again so I can clarify. I think you didn't hear me. I said if by Ambazonia, those who hold such appellations refer to Southern Cameroon, I'm talking about the adversary. I'm saying I cannot support myself. I'm trying to say I am Southern Cameroons. I'm not support. Get the point very clear. I cannot support myself. It is me. So
Okay.
I am Southern Cameroons. I represent Southern Cameroons, and Southern Cameroon represents me. Anyone who speaks for Southern Cameroon or Ambazonia is speaking for me, and vice versa. You should know of the slogan of this revolution. It's all for one, one for all. So I wouldn't want anyone telling me that I'm supporting Ambazonia. It is me. So I can't be supporting myself. I can only be myself.
Anyways,
I hope that clarifies.
It does offer clarity, but it's complex, given that it's very much around semantics in terms of who are you supporting and who you aren't. Some would say that you're an aide to the post-secessionist leader Julius Ayub Tabe Sisuku, even though you would say, yes, I know you would say that secession is an invalid word to use in this context, but would you say that you're an aide to Sisuku Ayub Tabe?
All right. Okay. I get your question. And yeah, I wouldn't say etymologically, secession is a wrong word to use right here. I am not a pro-individual Southern Cameroon. And Sisiku Ayuk Tabe, the interim president, is the interim president. And definitely I'm a subject. So if you mean by, okay, I stand by him in cause of revolutionaries, of course you're right. You're right. And not with him. I stand with every Southern Cameroonian. I stand with Martha, who has been murdered, with Karin, who has been murdered. I stand with even our fowls, our birds, who inhale tear gas canisters every day. So saying that I stand with someone could be in your context correct. However, just know that I am for Southern Cameroons. Whatever is in between Southern Cameroon and inside of it, I am for it.
If I understand correctly, you're saying you're Southern Cameroonian, and therefore your opinions are simply those of an individual, not part of an entity.
Yeah, but my opinion could never be part of those of any entity. That's why they call it an opinion. It's probably singular. Even entities, they bring out singular opinions to make it unanimous. So definitely Abdulkarim's opinion is Abdulkarim's opinion.
Thank you very much. That you do support Tuku Ayub Tabe. Some would argue that this gentleman is actually not an elected political or not an elected leader, self-declared. So how can you support someone who hasn't been agreed on by everyone in British Southern Cameroons, if we can be politically correct in your context?
Yeah, who is everyone?
Everyone is everybody who lives that live in the northwest and the southwest region. Can you say without any sliver of doubt that everybody supports him as leader when they did not vote for him?
Every true Southern Cameroonian supports him as leader. Every true Southern Cameroonian was on the street on the 22nd of September 2017. because of his call. Every true Southern Cameroonian who understands what motherland is. The rest would be enablers or confused people who are working with the regime. Every true Southern Cameroonian, since Jesus Christ came and left in the history of man, there is no revolution or no political event that has brought a country with all their counties for Southern Cameroon, all 13 countries on the street chanting the same thing. That was history, and that call was made by Sisiko Ayuktabe, and the people answered. So yes, I'll say every true Southern Cameroonian who were in their senses, even though they couldn't have been on the streets with everyone, they supported him in spirit.
Some people would say that others went feel very strongly about their Anglophone identity as opposed to supporting Sisiku Ayub. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would like them to define for me who an Anglophone is, because I don't consider myself to be an Anglophone. An Anglophone narrows this whole thing to be a linguistic matter. And the problem here is not a linguistic matter, it's that of an identity. Anglophone has to do with language and maybe some historical point in time when someone might have migrated to the Southern Cameroons. But the British Southern Cameroon predates all this. Remember, Victoria, what you people call Limbe, was named Victoria in 1858. It predates the coming of the Germans. Southern Cameroonians are not the same as Anglophones. Francophones could come here and give birth to their children. They could be Anglophones. Francophone could be posted by the regime to come and work here, and their children acquire our educations. They could be called Anglophones, but they are not bona fide Southern Cameroonians. There's a big difference.
Of course, there is a big difference, but unfortunately, history has made it such that those who come from the West and Southwest regions are called Anglophones, whether we like it or not. So, for the purpose of identification, regardless of whether that's how we see ourselves, this crisis that's ongoing in the Northwest and Southwest region is not called the British Southern Cameroon crisis, it's called the Anglophone Cameroon to the international community. Now, you did mention that you're an individual who has an opinion, and therefore you do not consider yourself to be part of an entity because an entity is made up of people with several opinions. But being that you hold your opinion so strongly, would some people would say that those you differ with, if you differ with someone else's opinion, who doesn't agree with you, it means that you're actually dissolving the entity that's required to create this British Southern Cameroons that you seem to be fighting for. And wouldn't they be correct?
Well, being correct or being wrong is a state of mind, especially in a firm like you and I are having. So I wouldn't say anyone is wrong or correct. I'll say that is their perception, and their case can be made if they have a case. This is why we have also opportunities for debate. However, history does, when you made a statement saying that whether we like it or not, Northwest and Southwest. By the way, I don't know anything called Northwest and Southwest regions. It is Southern Cameroons. This balkanization didn't come up until 1972. And do not forget, when we speak like this, I said we ignore the rest of the history of the world. Israel didn't have a state until 1948. Christians were not called Christians until when the early Christians were preaching in Antioch. The Jews were not called Jews until when the state of Israel was divided and the firstborn of Jacob, Judah, had his own tribe, Judea. All of these things have to be dated. Now, when you superimpose a name on me out of suppression, I have the right to deny it. So I'm telling you, and anyone who wants to know, we are not Northwest and Southwest. We will not allow for this balkanization that has not only brought bigotry, it has brought sectarianism and even tried to bring up xenophobia between one people. We are not going to allow it. First, it was obliteration. After that, pauperization, and then balkanization. We are not going to tolerate that. So these people have their rights to their opinion. But I say when people have rights to opinion, there's a platform called a debate. Unfortunately, I don't do debates online. I like doing debates face to face. So when we debate, we get to know what stuff people really have to say. So I won't agree with you, and I won't disagree with you on this matter. I'll be neutral.
Okay, I mean, we're not a debate, but we're here to establish because it's about you. So we're here to establish some of your views vis-a-vis what people think, because you have you have some very strong views. Like you said, the name Southern Cameroons or Anglophones or Northwest and Southwest is balkanization of this region that was divided and is encouraging xenophobia. Some people would say that actually when Limbe was called Victoria, that actually was a colonial name. It wasn't the name of Limbe. So changing it to Limbe from Victoria was actually a good thing. But then I'm very interested to understand what you would say to the fact that people say you refer to those who are partial to federalism as enablers and blacklegs. So how do you expect for there to be a democratic, open discussion to create consensus to establish these British Southern Cameroons of which you talk of when you're so inflexible in entertaining other people's views when, like we already talked about earlier, an entity is about, a group of opinions and not just yours?
Oh, thank you for that. And I think that's an intelligent question, Madam Pamela. Southern Cameroon is not an entity, it's a territory, it's a country. And a revolution doesn't have democracy. This is what people must understand. There is no democracy in a revolution. Now, it's true, I will not entertain, I did actually in 2016, up to the 17th of January 2017. I would entertain all sort of conversation about the so-called federalism vis-a-vis Southern Cameroons. What people misunderstand when I marshal such arguments, they think probably I don't have an understanding of what a federal system of governance is. No, I did study it. I've read it somehow. I went deep. I studied it. I asked questions to professors like Robert Purp in the University of North Carolina, America, and they answered. I understand it's a very good system of governance. But when you bring it back to the context of Southern Cameroon, I say people who marshal this argument, they are the ones who need to go back and do their homework. La République du Cameroon is amongst the countries, out of 64 votes that we had against 23, La République du Cameroon is the minority that refused to vote Resolution 1608 for the independence of British Southern Cameroon. America did. They have never had the intention to federate with us. They only accepted, and they came in on the 30th of September with a prepared federation text. They only accepted because of their grand scheme. And now they changed it in 1972 and they changed it in 1984. Until now, it's only my Southern Cameroonian brethren, both women and men, who are yearning for federation. My question is, has La République told you they want to federate with you? If they have told you they want to federate with you, please come and tell me that we should go and federate with them. Until they do that, I say, ask yourself a big question. Did God create us and say we must be pinned to someone who doesn't even want us? That is the question I'm asking. Barrister Bala, Fontem, Bobga, all of them mentioned. They didn't even impose. They simply said the best way out of all this dilemma that Cameroon is in is to go back to the federal system of 1961. They chased some away, locked some, and exiled some. And knowing the history that I know, that I deserve my independence, will I still be speaking the same language as Barrister Bala after he was kicked into jail because he asked for a fair play of whatever thing we agreed upon a union? I say, look, I won't be like that. The reason why people speak federalism to me is not further than two reasons. Number one, some people are ignorant, and number two is simply because of affiliations with La République du Cameroon, either for property and things like that. If not, at this stage, first of all, let someone recognize that we are a people on our own. We joined La République, they did not conquer us. That is what my argument is, and everyone is free to believe what they want, but opinions could be that this is a door, but that is actually a window. The fact is that that is a door. So people could hold various opinions, but they should think about what opinions they are holding. Would it stand the test of time, or can it stand any test if you were put on a scale?
So thank you, because you've raised a lot of salient issues there.
Thank you.
In terms of your opinion, arguments that you've made. But if we are to go back to history, like you mentioned, we would realize that there was no British Southern Cameroons. And we keep using the word British Southern Cameroons. If we look back at history, we had only two options. We had the options to either join Nigeria or join Cameroon. The option for a third state was never agreed at the UN level. And this is the same UN that we're going to try to establish a state. So we never actually were a state. We had quasi-independence, but never fully had a state. So we were administered on the eastern region of Nigeria, but we were never a country on our own. So we had those two options. And so then looking at the available solutions at the moment. Some people would say that the dream of British Southern Cameroons, or for others who would want to call it Ambazonia, it's a pipe dream and it's very much an ideology at the moment. What do you say to that?
Well, thank you. I thank you expressing that position, which is a very weak position. Southern Cameroon has always been a country on its own before the Germans came. What people don't understand, when we packed out, of course, British Southern Cameroon, that is who we are and that is who we were. It was also French Cameroon, so that argument is already is mute, because that was also called French Cameroon. But no, when we packed out from Enugu in 1953, Southern Cameroon is amongst the few African countries that was self-governing from 1954 till the Declaration of Independence for African Nations. Note this, from 1954, we had 3 governments. Like Republic till this day has had only 1 government. From Andre Marimbida to Aijo to Paul Biya, and all were given. The first time Biya attempted an election was in 1992, 10 years after his admitted to power, and it was won by Frundi. Southern Cameroon entered into this union with La République du Cameroon after having 3 elected governments, 3 elected self-governing governments. We were using British pound sterling. It was in April 1961 that our money was all bought with some silly CFA. Oh yes, we've been a country. And what people don't understand, by implicit indication, listen, resolution 1335, resolution 1608, and resolution 1514, these are all resolutions in
Please accept our apologies. I think our guest froze. So I'll go over to read your comments just to see what everyone is thinking about this. We have different people who feel differently about this debate, obviously, but let me remind you that this debate is to hear more about what Mr. Abdulkarim Ali has to say. And being that he has very strong opinions, some people wanted to get other sides of the debate, or for him to expatiate more on what he means when he brings up certain positions. So we have so many comments coming in. Some comments saying man is by nature a political animal, says Aristotle. And someone here complained about not being able to hear me. So I hope that you can hear me now, Mani. So in relation to the discussion about Sissoco Ayuk Tabe being president of Southern Cameroons, we have Kingsley saying, I'm a true Southern Cameroonian, but he is not my president. And so from Singer Phillips, we also have a comment about who is every true Southern Cameroonian, sir, and why call them enablers simply because they differ in opinions. And we have Amba Bolifamba, who's saying anyone against the Southern Cameroons and working with the enemy is an enabler. Interesting. And there are those asserting their Southern Cameroonianness. We have Patterson Nubaga here, who's saying, I am a Southern Cameroonian. And another argument here from Kingsley saying, are you therefore claiming that because the British named a town or people, that becomes their defining identity? Are you not extolling colonialism? Yeah. And Debat Marco James, why do you identify yourself as British Cameroonian and why not original Cameroonian as a result of identification before the coming of Germans? Interesting question. And from Ulfa Huggins, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, there was no Cameroon before the coming of the Germans. And that's a very fair point to make. We were a German colony for 30 years, and we weren't actually a British or a French colony. Strangely enough, we end up fighting as Anglophones and Cameroonians, and this is just commentary on history, by the way, not about my stance. So yeah, we were neither. We didn't belong to any country. And then Fred Fon is of the opinion that federalism remains an unwanted issue in our Ambazonian state. Mr. Abdulkarim Ali would have a problem with the name Ambazonia because to him it doesn't exist. And then we have FACO Association saying we can federate with people who burn our house. We cannot, I think he meant we can't federate with people who burn our houses and kill civilians in mass. That's debatable, yes. We can say that the army and the security forces have been killing people, being very strong-handed in the way they've handled, you know, the discord in the Anglophone crisis. And others would also say that there are some rogue elements in that liberation fight from the Anglophone side that are also causing as much pain to the locals in Northwest and Southwest region. So from Arbitro Neville, Esame, Ashu, some of your arguments, madam, are just foolish. We have our principles, our beliefs, our values. Maybe you all have yours. We are Southern Cameroonians and we will remain that way. You aren't changing our minds. Fight yours, let's fight ours. Our people died in their thousands, not for stupidity. Our blood isn't cheap. We will get our demands, mind you. Well, I hear you, but I am asking very fair questions from an objective perspective. We know where Mr. Abdulkarim Ali's allegiances lie and where his opinions stand. But it's also good to hear questions that other people who have differing opinions hold from the other side. So perhaps, to some extent, you could say I'm playing the devil's advocate, but it's not about my position here. It's about questions that people have and how Mr. Ali actually approaches those questions and what he thinks about them. So we can't be thinking about creating a country when we all can't welcome or entertain differing opinions to ours. If you have an opinion and someone else has a different opinion and you consider them the enemy, then you two do have a problem because you're being autocratic in the sense that someone would say, in democracy, which we are fighting for, which is what we see the British Southern Cameroons to encapsulate, to embody. Some people would say that we're fighting for freedom of speech because that's what we've always known. We're fighting for democracy, which is what we've always known. We elect our officials. We're not used to a very centrist, assimilationist governance that some find in the Francophone section, La République du Cameroun, which sadly is what it's called now, though it wasn't before independence, which is what the French Cameroon section was called before independence. But eventually we have reverted to that. But anyways, that's a lot of history, which perhaps throughout this program I might get back to. So some more comments. Let's not forget about Ambazonia and La République and reform the new system to manage just people. So there are those people who feel very strongly that instead of fighting as Ambazonia or fighting as Francophones, we should put our heads together as one country and decide on a system that works for us instead of fighting to establish systems that were handed down to us by our trusteeship managers, who were France and Britain. So let's see, we have some more questions here. He had a state? What are you talking about? I don't believe I mentioned he had a state. I would have been referring to something he mentioned because he's saying that British Southern Cameroon was a state and had independence, but we never fully had full independence. We were a quasi-independent country, which is why we had to choose to join either Nigeria or the Republic of Cameroon. And so we still have other people who have questions around what can La République offer Southern Cameroon that you are asking for reform. So that would be to a previous comment that someone said. And another person is of the opinion, do not forget, Portuguese gave the name of Cameroon, Rio dos Cameros, river of crayfish. So Cameroon was born as a nation's name. I mean, we could get into semantics and discuss about what is a nation, what is a state, and that would get very murky for an African setting because very few African countries are nation states because we have so many different groups in one country that we cannot be a nation state. Some Arab countries are nation state because you might have 100% or more than 90% of the population is Arab, but it's when you come to the African story or the African experience, that's not what we've got. So Comrade has succinctly presented our case. But of course, you cannot exist in isolation. Other people too have differing opinions, and you're going to have to sit with them sooner or later to hear what they've got to say. It's not just about your opinion, but it's about arriving a compromise. Not everybody believes in the same opinion. So how do we break that deadlock? And some are using this to settle scores. And we have a longer post here on how the Germans came. There were missionaries such as Alfred Secker, but that did not constitute colonialism. It was not until 1918, after the defeat of the Germans, that the British colonized southern Cameroons. This was ratified by League of Nations in 1922. Yes, Cameroon was a spoil of war. After the First World War, the German defeat. Actually, on the 11th of July, we celebrated 100 years of division, the Milner-Simon Agreement that divided Cameroon between France and the English. And is actually where this problem, the Anglophone crisis, actually begun. And we have Prosper Fadaha saying there is no Cameroon before the coming of the German. That's very correct. Most African settings live as tribes, so we do not know that this idea of a country is something that is foreign to us. So if we're actually advocating for countries, and we really need to look at it from the historical perspective, we're still colonized because we're declaring ourselves a country, something that is very foreign to the African setting. Africans mostly identify with their tribes first, but I understand that with urbanization, with development, all of that has changed and we're more or less merging together. But before the coming of the colonial powers or the European powers, our settings were very tribal. And that's very true for Cameroon. Someone saying here, Sissoko is no more my president because of his greedy attitude. I'm not sure about that. I don't know anything relating to that. Maybe someone can enlighten us on how he's greedy from prison. So yeah, let's keep it moving. Nabapai is here. The people of Southern Cameroon should not be ashamed of their identity, whether it's got to do with colonialism or not. The fact that we cannot accept the fact that Southern Cameroon was a country on its own before federating with La Republic of Cameroon, then there can be no more future peace. Okay. And we have Stella Ayafo saying the blood of Ambazonians ain't cheap. We can't be killed this much and leave on as though nothing happens. Separation is the only solution. Fair point. Federation after more than 10,000 killed, is it madness? No way. I'm not sure about 10,000. I know that since this crisis began in 2016, over 2,000 people died, but 10,000, no, that's too much or exaggerated. So every nation chooses its name until it's recognized by the Concert of Nations. It's a lame claim to hold that the name Ambazonia is not known. A child is named before his or her birth certificate is established. Well, that's very debatable as well. Some people would say that Ambazonia too is not a name that was known until the 90s. It was coined by someone, and it's not actually a name that people can identify with. That the only name we're known by, or that the Anglophone Cameroon region is known by legally, internationally, is British Southern Cameroons. So yes, I was reading comments whilst we were trying to get Abdulkarim on the line, and he's back. So we're going to get back and continue our discussion. Thank you all very much for sending through your comments. Please keep them coming. Before I get back to Abdulkarim, we have through Nixon that here who is saying both sides will be held for crimes against humanity, but the government needs to do more to protect the citizens, which is a fair point, very objective. The government of Cameroon, that's Cameroon with a U, meaning La Republic government, has lost its respect. And a country whose president was deported from another country, question marks. Okay, that question it's got nothing to do with us. There's a difference between fiction and reality. We have found ourselves in this state. War was declared on us. We are in a revolution. There is no choice during bloodshed. It is a battle for survival. It's either you are in or out. After war, there are choices. As of now, we must just fight and defend our people. We might not be doing it perfectly, but our backs are against the wall as of now. If you don't believe in the struggle, you're free to get to the other side. We're dealing with reality and not some staged drama. So thank you all for your comments, and I'm bringing Abdulkarim back in again so that we can continue this very interesting discussion. So thank you, Abitra Neville, Esame Ashu. So, Mr. Ali, thank you for joining us. We've been having some technical issues for a bit there, and I've been sharing some of the comments that have been coming in on the different stands that people have. And so we can go back to discussing, to continue from where we left off. So we've already established that you do not identify with the term Ambazonia. You consider yourself a British Southern Cameroon citizen. You believe that Southern Cameroon has been a state. It was self-governing from 1954. But then I went back to point out that in history, we were never actually fully independent. We were quasi-independent, meaning we were either with Nigeria, and there were actually some British Southern Cameroonian politicians who held portfolios in the eastern region of Nigeria. And we had a choice of between joining Nigeria and joining La République du Cameroun, something which your stance is obviously against, but I am going with history here. And the reason I was trying to bring in a fact that Southern Cameroon had an option, or the politicians at the time had presented an option for Southern Cameroon to be an independent state. So John Wu Foncha, Emmanuel Lifafa Endele, Augustin Gomdra, Solomon Tandeng Muna presented a third option, which was rejected by the British in completion of their trusteeship mandated territory duties. It was rejected at the United Nations because they thought that Cameroon was too small to be viable economically, and that's why we didn't have that option. And so some people would say, okay, having British Southern Cameroons now, how feasible is it to have that? And I then ask the question, isn't British Southern Cameroons more of an ideology right now than it is reality, given the history that has happened since independence?
All right, okay, thanks for having me back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Did you hear me?
Okay, yeah, sure. Let me correct what you said again. Again, I did not say I don't identify myself as an Ambazonian. You got it wrong. You asked the question in a particular manner, and I answered in a particular manner. I hope it is recorded so you can review to get it. Well, I hope that clarifies that because you said you've established that I don't identify. That's a wrong statement. I do identify myself as an Ambazonian, what you can call Southern Cameroons. So in the context that you asked, I responded in that context. I can't remember exactly how it was, but I did answer in a context. Words can mean anything unless you put them in a context.
So that the pro-secessionist movement, Ambazonia, because I said you are an aide to Sissoko Tabe Ayuk.
So I corrected you by saying that I cannot be aiding myself. I'm Southern Cameroons. Call it Ambazonia, Southern Cameroons. I am it. So I cannot be aiding myself. I can only be myself. All right. Okay. Let the records of heaven note that. Okay. You said many things, and I'll say you're spinning history. Sorry to tell you that. Southern Cameroons again had been a state. I keep saying this, and if we're wrong, we're challenging people to come on a debate table, not just a negotiation table, and tell us that we were not a state between 1954 to 1959. I need people to tell me that. And when we packed out of Enugu, Nigerians did not stop us. Why? Because they knew we were a people. What is a state? The bad thing is that we Southern Cameroonians have been so assimilated that we define state as to what La République called. This is the nonsense of État, which means Pobia, a few Southern Cameroonians, elite, and their government. That that nonsense. A state is a people.
Let me finish.
Let me finish. A state is a people, their territory, and their government. Southern Cameroon had their people, their territory, well-defined boundaries as per 1916, and their government. 3 elected government before going into a federation with La République du Cameroon. And I'm telling you that we got independence by, not upon, joining. So this independence was given, but you're right, some gymnastics were played, because according to the Charter of the United Nations, the instruments of governance should be given to the people that have been decolonized. Ours was not given to us, it was given to Ijo Atiko in 1961. So yeah, gymnastics were played, but we are saying that our parents did their best. This is why when people say this revolution that started in 2016, no, The escalation was in 2016, but it started since far back as 1959 when Ndele objected this issue of joining, of having independence either by joining Nigeria or Cameroon. So it has been there like that. Gymnastics have been played. Our parents have tried. Now this is our time. This is our time. And listen to me, our brothers who call themselves federalists started having the conversations. They were locked up. I'm asking you, what should I do if my brother asks you to obey terms that I joined you with and you refuse? I will tell you that I have another way, and that is my independence. Asking you to obey that, remember, we join on these terms. And the articles of these constitutions clearly state that the form of the state should not be changed. They have changed it twice. Besides that, the reply was murder, rape, carnage, cut off internet, and all these things. And someone keeps telling me that I must federate with these people. Am I mad? Have the people told me they want to federate with me? The answer is no. So what is my problem? And I'm not asking La Republic for my independence. Coming to your question, is Southern Cameroon a reality, or what did you say? Did you use the word dream?
Some people would say that it's very much an ideology at the moment as opposed to reality. What do you
Right.
say to that?
I'll quote for you one of the finest thinkers of the 19th century from where you are in England, George Bernard Shaw. He says the greatest idea starts at the mind of one. It starts as an idea and grows to an ideology, and then it changes the world. It is one man who said that Jesus Christ has died on the cross and we believe it. That was Paul. It is one man who comes and says that there is no God except he. That was Muhammad, and the whole world has changed. Yeah, it was an ideology, but you can see its reality. Karen Bass, in the conference that she had with Southern Cameroonians yesterday, she said the people of Southern Cameroon have the right to self-determination. I hope we do understand what it is, the internal part of it and the external part of it. No, it is not just an ideology, it's a reality. You know it's a reality. That's why you're having me on this TV.
Okay, I find that very interesting. But you keep saying you mentioned that I'm spinning history. If we were to go by history, to clarify the point I made about the fact that Southern Cameroon wasn't fully a state, why then did the British feel the need for us to vote on whether to join Nigeria or to join Cameroon? If you're already a state, then surely they should just give you a tribute. So why did it have to be decided by the British or the French who didn't feel that we should be a country on our own?
Oh, that's a good question. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
All right, are you done with the question?
Yes.
All right, okay. Listen to me. Before the United Nations decided to decolonize all the territories that were under colonization, don't forget about the Berlin Conference. That first of all partitioned Africa and all these things. They considered them states, and Britain never claimed that they have total ownership. This is why they had a policy of indirect rule. Why are they indirectly ruling? Because it's already a people with a system. Now, the question I keep asking you, what is a state in English? Is it not a piece of land with people and a government? That is it. Did Southern Cameroon have that from 1954? Yes, they did. Is that what they entered with La Republique? Did they go with all these things, including their entities and institutions like the marketing board, the Santa Coco, the Tico Airport, the Victoria Deep Seaport? Is this what they brought into the union? That is what they brought. What about La Republique of Cameroon? Were they a state? Of course they were. They were also a state under the trusteeship of the United Nations with France. They called them French Cameroon. After independence, they became La République du Cameroon. Notice all these steps. After we joined them forcefully because our parents refused, but we didn't have a choice. We joined them forcefully. They abandoned their entity. We abandoned ours to become La République, the Federal Republic of Cameroon. In 1972, they changed it to United Republic of Cameroon because they had discovered oil in the southern zone of southern Cameroon, but the federal system could not allow them to exploit it anyhow. So with France, they did that nonsense. In 1984, Paul Biya took it back to what? To La République du Cameroon. Implicitly, that is a black on black annexation.
But
Listen to me. Yeah. Federalists must understand. French Cameroon has never had the intention and they will never have to federate with Southern Cameroon. The federation they will bring to you, which, and I asked you, now I'll throw back the question to you. Let's assume you're a federalist. What federation are you telling me about? 10 states, 4 states, or 2 states? I'm asking.
I would say if you were to go back to federation, we're going back to what we had in 1961, what was agreed to.
All right, so La Republique will never give you that. They'll rather kill all of us and send us in jail. Is that what you want?
Well, it's not about what I want, but it's people understanding why you feel strongly about your opinions, the way you feel about. But obviously, I have to ask questions from the other side so that you can understand how I think. But it is not about my opinions because I'm not here to talk about my opinions. When I'm a guest, you're our guest star today, which is why you're the star of the show today. I am just here hosting.
Muslims respect women a lot, so we always like women having their say. I just like to know, my federalists are confused. 10 states, 4 states, 100 states, I don't know. All anyway, because of the oil resources that we have.
The question I was going to ask you was, yes, you mentioned that La République had no intention of actually being in a federation with British Southern Cameroons. And then you would also say that looking at history, the elites, the Anglophone elites at the time, who were powerful, the political elites, actually made this possible because we were fighting over power. There was a lot of divisions. I'm going to read a statement here that alludes to the fact that, which is part of the root cause of the Anglophone problem. So the roots of the Anglophone problem lie in a badly organized unification that was based on centralization and assimilation, and in economic and administrative marginalization. Personal and ethnic ambitions and rivalries among the elites did not help matters, and that's the elites of British Cameroon. They have not always been able to present a common front to defend an increasingly heterogeneous Anglophone cause. But people would say that the fact that you refuse to sit with federalists, people who have different opinions to you, mean that because you're actually an elite. You're here on this program, you're sat on so many other esteemed programs, people admire you for your intellect, and the fact that you refuse to sit with other people that you refer to as enablers and blacklegs because they are partial to federalism. Some people will say that you're actually helping La République du Cameroon government in their agenda to divide and neutralize and dissipate the Anglophone movement. What do you say to that?
Oh, that paper you read, who is the author? Is that an academic paper?
It is an academic paper. So this was a report that was written by the Crisis Group. It's report number 250, and it was published on the 2nd of April 2017. And this was after speaking to several historians from Cameroon, academics, people from civil organizations and NGOs, and some key Anglophone lawyers as well, who have been very involved in the consulting, the council, the lawyers' council that has been advocating for the change in the common law. So they interviewed all these very people, and that was the conclusion. So, in your opinion,
I just wanted to make sure it's an academic paper because such academic papers are problematic academic papers. And let me correct the academic paper before I proceed. There is no such thing as an Anglophone problem. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Because I thought you were talking.
No, carry on. I can hear you.
Okay, there is a delay. All right. What I'm saying is we need to correct that paper. There's no such thing as the Anglophone problem. There's an Anglophone crisis that erupted in 2016. That's an escalation of a crisis. There's a Southern Cameroon problem. That academic paper is incorrect. And we need to start choosing what sources we study from. There's only one root cause of the Southern Cameroon problems, not many. There is only one cause of malaria, but the symptoms are thousands. The only cause of the Southern Cameroon problem is the non-decolonization of the British Southern Cameroon as per Resolution 1608 that won the vote for this territory to be independent with its natural inherent borders as per 1916 after the First World War. This should be taken into record and taken seriously. Now, when we talk about the Southern Cameroon, the Anglophone crisis, most times we refer to marginalization and then the late erosions of the law, the legal system, and the academic system. My dear, these are symptoms of the Southern Cameroon problems. The Biafra that they insult us, the Anglophones, the nepotism, the stealing, the barbarism, the training of military not to defend fatherland but to beat us, the control in French. All these things are symptoms of one disease. The disease is the abuse of Resolution 1608. We need to have these things very clear. And that is
So
why,
how do you propose? Okay, carry on.
just say it. What did you say?
I was going to ask you, how do you propose we decolonize? With you're talking about the resolution, and you're saying that's the root cause of the Anglophone
All
crisis,
right.
and not the ones which are the which are
Yeah,
effects
so
of the.
this is why. And don't forget, Britain made the same mistake with Eritrea and Ethiopia. It made the same mistake by forcing Eritrea to join Ethiopia during their own decolonization process. Now, so how do we? Before that, there's this another question. Let me answer what you asked earlier. That I refuse to sit with those. I would never sit with an enabler. I can sit with an enabler face to face. Look at an enabler eyeball to eyeball for the public to view us and analyze what they are saying. My sister, more than 12,000 Southern Cameroonians are dead. More than 150,000 are in the bushes. Did we start a war? No. Did Southern Cameroonians break out from the federal state of Federal Republic of Cameroon? No. Who broke out? La République du Cameroon. Are we educated enough to know our rights? Yes. Should we be begging for our rights? The answer is no. If you beg, would these people even grant you? No. La République has been cornered. That is why they are even so. Get a few elect of us, put a lot of soya in their mouth to eat, and then look, my dear. Before this crisis, I'm struggling. I'm not the suffering type. But my neighbors are suffering. Your neighbors are suffering. People are dying. I want to bequeath for my child and his child, for my neighbor and my neighbor's child, something better. Not a case where because I know someone in Yaoundé, I will leave earth above water while my neighbor is dying. La République du Cameroon understands only brutality and violence. We've not been violent with them. We are only defending ourselves, and you can see how they kill every day. Do you kill like that for federalism? Do you kill like that for federation? You want to federate with someone who declares war, and since this thing started, he cannot step foot on your land? With people who even refuse that the symptoms that you call today, they refuse that didn't exist. They refused. Now, how do we propose to have to decolonize the territory? This is why it's not a case between La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroon. It's a case between Southern Cameroons, United Nations, Britain, and France, and we are taking it up. Unfortunately, enablers are holding us back.
But
The
how do
only
you?
reason, the
How do
only
you?
reason, the only reason La République du Cameroon has the audacity to start shooting us, and they are shooting us, is because our brothers are enablers. This is why they are called enablers, because you are enabling genocide on your people by standing on the fence and ask for what you did not take away. You're asking for what you willfully joined and they took it away from you. And you asked for it another time, you were locked up for it. Your people marched peacefully to release those that asked about that thing, they were killed. Are we kidding? We were marching on the 22nd of September saying, release Abogbala, release Fontaine. Nobody was even chanting restoration. They shot us with gunships. And look, my dear, you see, I'm getting emotional. The only reason we are here is because of enablers. Our bloods are on the hands of enablers, and God help them.
How can you get a solution without bringing everyone with differing opinions to the table? Are you
Sweetheart,
proposing that?
there's only one opinion in a revolution. I hope you understand this is a revolution. It's not a democracy, it's not a classroom of intellectuals. It's a revolution. And the subject is the root cause of the Southern Cameroon problems, and the answer is non decolonization. So there's no subject of bringing everyone with different opinions when the people call have different opinions were jailed and we went out and we're being killed. So I'm telling you, and I'm challenging anyone to come to Cameroon or take me out of Cameroon. Let's debate the root cause of the problem. Is it an Anglophone problem or a Southern Cameroon problem? Let's see how well they do with the history they gather. It's a Southern Cameroon problem. The only cause is that of non decolonization. Britain did not do her homework. That is the only reason. The rest of the things, marginalization, poor administration, those are symptoms. Those are
But because
symptoms,
of your
sweetheart.
this fighting carries on. But because you feel so strongly about um, having an independent British Southern Cameroon, there are huge consequences on the local population. And like you say, thousands and thousands of people have been killed. Children have been out of school. Not everyone is lucky as you today. Like you said, some are in the bushes, some are refugees in Nigeria, living under very precarious conditions. Some say that you're actually the few lucky one because you got to eat breakfast this morning, you ate your fried egg and potato, you have your kids who are healthy. So why should you not consider sitting at the table with others just so that we can find a peaceful solution and we can end to this war that is devastating other people's lives? Is it not a better idea, or is it not for the president of British Southern Cameroons if every actor comes to the table to discuss a way forward rather than feeling very strongly about their opinions and how they are and how wrong the other person is?
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about my breakfast. Sure, I had my breakfast, but you should notice that on the 22nd of September, no one was chanting anything. We're chanting to liberate the Federalists. Those who call themselves Federalists have the infantry to use the word today because of our blood and our sweat. Bala was locked up for that. How come federalism became a subject of discourse again? Don't forget it was a taboo subject. How come it became again something discussable? Because of our blood. Nobody should forget that. Federalists have no moral grounds. And if you see all the debates going on TVs in Southern Cameroon, how many federalists go to defend their case? How many go to talk to Bia? None of them.
Some
They are
say
leaning
that
on our back. Sorry?
because of your some also would say that you have no moral ground because of your stance. Many people are still dying.
Yeah, so they can say that. And when it comes to the tables, there are two tables. Enablers are free to have their own table and eat the biggest lamb if they choose. But Southern Cameroonians have their own table. That is what it is. We have many enablers here. Nothing has happened to any. And don't make a mistake. There's a difference between a clear-cut traitor and an enabler. There are two different things. So enablers are here. We don't see them on TV. And I don't know why they tell us about federalism. They should tell Bia about federalism. They don't want to federate with Southern Cameroon. They want to federate with La République du Cameroon. So they should take their discourse of federalism to La République du Cameroon and let us take us where we are going to with it. We are taking us, as you can see, with the international community. That is where our problem lies, not with La République du Cameroon. We are not discussing our independence with La République du Cameroon. We are discussing terms of the life we've lived together. So those who want federalism, they can go ahead, romance with Yaoundé. They are free to do that. And no one is stopping them, trust me. No one is stopping them. But we don't entertain them on our table. On our own table, no. And they are free not to entertain us on their own table.
Okay, so um, thank you for providing arguments, which are very strong arguments. But then some people will still say that in war and in looking in search of peace, you have to bring in all different parties, different opinions. Because nowhere in the world have you ever had peace without bringing all the parties together. It always breaks down. So a federal person would call a federalist, as you call them, that is you that they're actually able to call themselves a federalist, would think that the solution is a lot better and involves less bloodshed compared to what you're proposing. I mean,
Yeah, before
more
you go, let me do something on that. Excuse me. The Southern Cameroonians who fought first blood against La République? No. Did La République declare war upon Southern Cameroonians? Yes. Could federalists speak in the entire 2017 about the word federation? No. How could they speak it now? Because of our blood. So let's stop this hypocrisy of they have a better way without any bloodshed, because they didn't have even a voice until the blood was shed. That is something that should be corrected. We have to stop all this hypocrisy. As if the so-called independentists, if we didn't do what we did, federalists could have had a voice. They wouldn't have any voice. Bala would be in jail. So let's stop all this hypocrisy. We did not invade anybody. We've not attacked anybody's country. We've not even declared a war. War was declared on us, and you want us to be killed because you love federalism. And by the way, there is no peace without justice. Anything, any peace, any word peace or anything around peace without talking about justice is false and fallacy. It's actually called the fallacy of false dilemma or you can say, a straw man trying to poison the well. We want justice, and justice is going back to the root cause. And the root cause is not your federalism. The root cause is the non-decolonization of the British Southern Cameroon. That's the root cause. It's not federalism. So if you talk about peace, talk about justice. You can't do anything with peace without talking about justice. So yes, we want justice, and we want federalists to look at us in the eyes and tell us that the problem of Southern Cameroon is federalism.
So if you're advocating that the solution lies in decolonization, how do you propose to go about doing that?
Sorry?
If you're proposing that the solution for British Southern Cameroons becoming a state lies in the decolonization by the British, which was failed according to the resolution that you keep raising, how do you propose to go about doing that and making sure that that decolonization does happen?
Oh, you can see what we've done. You can see what has happened in 3 years, part of which has given federalists the infantry and the audit to come out and speak. It is hard work from Southern Cameroonians. Protest, defense, and diplomacy, you've seen that. And today, the world is recognizing. America has recognized the people who want their liberty. And don't forget, you're in Europe enjoying because people fought for liberty. Your friends are in America because George Washington stood up against the Britishers. No country has had their liberty on a platter of gold. You have to stand up for it. But Southern Cameroonians are doing it in the most peaceful way. They have not attacked anyone. They are being killed. And I'm saying that, why couldn't federalists speak in 2017? After January 17, 2017, why did they shut up until 2018? I would like an answer to that question.
Okay, that's a question for the Federalists, and I'm sure there are comments in the in the comments in the comment section here coming on. Let's see what some of the. I will read some of the comments so that you can see them. We have Kamrul Biswas who's saying that Federalists are opportunists. We have Ufa Ugen who's saying that anyone who interferes with my freedom and does things or takes action and work to keep me hooked to my oppressor is an enabler and is more dangerous than an all-out traitor. Someone is Amba Bolifamba says Madam Moderator is an enabler. Okay, thank you very much, Amba. So Amba Freedom says that is hypocrisy. And we have Stella Ayafo who says, I just love I thank you for educating Amber, sir. And we have Tassie Franklin who says, thank you, Brother Abdul. And more questions. This what nonsense from Ombel Jang. The hypocrisy is just too much, Comrade Abdul. Please don't accept such invitations next time. This is dishonesty on the greatest level. And we have another comment here from Bamakina Kuga, which says, tell them, Mr. Abdul, they should take their discourse of federation to Biya, who is not even interested in. We don't want any federation because of the blood of our loved ones. We have Wise Man Silver White who's saying, God bless you, Abdul. And through Kimberly, there is no peace without justice. Julius Akbar, you're a genuine intellectual, Abdul. And we have Raul Gonzalez Gracias, who is federalist. People like Akbar Bala have benefited from the situation to the stars and medias abroad. And so we have a comment here from Singer Phillips. No, they had a voice, sir. I beg to differ. Federalists were the ones who started the struggle. The struggle didn't start from bloodshed. Bloodshed is only a consequence of the initial Federalist cry. And Chesri and saying that enablers are having to kill Ambazonians. We have Ambazonia bloodshed saying that a word for should be forbidden. And independence or nothing. And so we have another comment here from Ita Akom. Restoration of the Southern Cameroon independence is the solution. So yeah, those are the comments that I've been coming at. So hopefully you can see some of you've heard them, I've read them out loud so that you understand. But then we just need to get this discussion moving. Kwame Nkrumah, who was a very well-known Pan-Africanist, wrote that Africa is one continent, one people, one nation. The notion that in order to have a nation, it is necessary for there to be a common territory, common culture, has failed to stand the test of time or the scrutiny of scientific definition of objective reality. So, having heard that, how can you reconcile the quest for independence that is built on differences of language and culture?
All right. Thanks for the question. Are you done?
Yes, I am.
All right. Okay. Kwame Nkrumah wrote in a time in the what he lived in a time when social media was not available. He lived in a time when a black nation had not annexed a black nation and trying to force them to become French speakers. In the meantime, if Kwame Nkrumah was alive, I will ask him, I will tell him that, sir, if Britain and France, who are very close neighbors, could merge and become one country, then I'll believe you that La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroon can merge and become one successful country. Sister, it can't simply work. These people hate us, they dislike us, we disgust them. They only want our property. It is about the oil, the timber, the human resource. That is it. And then the land, of course. They don't like us. They call me Biafra. I didn't understand what they meant until I grew up. It means I'm a Nigerian who came to steal their land. They call me Anglo fool. Till this day, till that you're talking about your federalism, they speak to us here. All the police here, they speak to us in French. If you cannot respond, they either beat you or kill you or lock you up. But and in their zones, nobody speaks English. They speak to us in French here and they speak to us in French there. So we can't simply copy paste made by great people like Kwame for actually it is anachronism to actually the fallacy of presentism, actually trying to superimpose what happened in the past in the present time or vice versa. It doesn't work that way. We need to coin our own statements in our context. These people, our federalists, are half assimilated people or ignorant people or federalists who are speaking federalism out of ignorance. I feel sorry for them. But most of those who speak with the knowledge they have property in Yaoundé, they are enjoying with Yaoundé. It's not because they really think we can federate with our public, because they know we cannot federate with our public. And they are not even telling us what kind of federation they're talking about. The elite of federalism, I hear they're talking about 10 states and 4 states. La République fears even the two-state federalism more than independence for some reasons I don't know. They can't bear it that we are going to say X is our governor in the northern zone, Y is our governor in the southern zone. Better still, it's never going to be like that because southern Cameroon is simply one zone. That we are going to have one governor that determines everything for us, and they are not going to have the oil. They'll rather kill all of us. And since they've started killing, we say we are going to defend. Get it there. We did not attack a single policeman when they captured Bala and drove out Bogba. We did not attack a single policeman on the 22nd of September. We've not attacked a single Buddha person or Babusan person living in Bamenda or Douala or Yaoundé living in Boya and Victoria. We've not done that because we are not barbarians. But these people shoot infants. And they have not told me that they want to give you your federalism. Have they told you that? Have they told federalists that now, look, tell your brothers to stop, come, this is your federation? They have not. We are begging on our land, we are begging from people as though we don't know what to do. It's a shame on Southern Cameroonians. After 57 years of imprisonment and slavery, after more than half a century of education and scholarship, we beg for what is ours? No, this is a territory. And listen, according to the AU, OAU, and the United Nations Charter, a border or boundaries is stipulated at the date of independence. Now, at their independence, La République du Cameroon, what was their border? Was Cameroon part of their territory? The answer is no. What are we talking about? Who started killing who? Who is killing who till today? Because of federation? And the question goes back again, why was federalism not mentioned by any federalist in the entire 2017? I want to get that answer.
Okay, so we'll throw that answer to federally so that they can see and they can come back with the
Please answer.
comments. Yes, we've thrown it back to them, and I already have a response here. We can read it out. Let us be clear, September 22nd was never about federalism, and the leader Siku was already leader of the Resolution Council or whatever came out from Skakov. Uganda capitalized on the bloodshed on the 22nd to declare independence a week later, which has led to more bloodshed. So that's a comment here. So someone else is saying schools resume now with the Republic curriculum will amount to Ambazonians accepting defeat. So just to capitalize on this comment, some people would say that or those fighting for British Southern Cameroons have made situations worse because the government in Yaoundé were actually accommodating and presented certain concessions because the Anglophone elites or those who are actually in front of this crisis or directing it were not in agreement. It led to the talks breaking down. Do you think that the fact that it is impossible, even though you keep saying that the Northwest and the Southwest region are one region or one country, one state, we forget to acknowledge the fact that there were different ideologies within that group. Southwesterners might not feel as strongly about British Southern Cameroons as you do, and that's exactly what led us to these problems in the first place. Because some would say that back in the 60s, when the power started becoming more centralized, we found that and NLA wanted to vote from John Hook Poncha, which they succeeded in doing. And so they got power, and obviously that led to things. Or when they found out that it didn't work out for the Anglophones, or it had been a wrong move, they tried to change that by writing letters to the government in Yaoundé to criticize some of the things that were happening. So some people would say that the leaders today have not learned from history. Because you did mention when I talked about Kwame Nkrumah, you were saying that it's season. And it's something that people just take things from the past and talk about today. But I feel that history holds lessons for today. From your point of view, having said that, can't you see that actually some of these things, or you still saying that federalists are enablers instead of sitting down and having a conversation with them is part of the problem?
Well, I think we are doing a circle, you and I here. I think I've answered those questions. I've sat with early 2018. I sat with I think what I would consider the best arguments federalists could marshal. I sat with Dr. Munzo. I sat with Barrister Bala, and they couldn't answer the same questions nobody can answer now. And people keep spinning about SCACUF and so on. Look, NCNC predates consortium. NCNC, it predates consortium. SDF predates consortium. But my question is, why weren't the Federalists laudable? Why were they not speaking in 2017? Because they could not speak. They couldn't speak. It took blood, resistance, defense, diplomacy for them to open their mouth to start insulting us with the enemy. For them to open their mouth and call their brothers tyrants. And they're speaking because of the blood of these tyrants. Because after January 17th, 2017, they couldn't open their mouth because Bala was locked up for mentioning federalism. So no one is stopping, talking about sitting and talking with them. Right now, well, maybe mid 2018 I could. Right now I can't. If for these 3 years, every Southern Cameroonian has not learned a lesson, has not realized that these people don't want us, they hate us, and have not realized that we are a people. They keep saying Northwest, Southwest region. This is not 2,000 years ago. This is history of 1972 that these people balkanized us. The Jews that were chased out of Israel in the first century only went back after Hitler has incinerated them in 1948 to go and regain their states. And as Jews in 1972, my brothers keep calling Northwest, Southwest, they are enablers. They can't open their mouth to say Southern Cameroons, they are enablers. They can't realize that someone divided us, a black man, not even the colonialists, a black man seated here, divided us and made us to sing songs for life called birthday. Come on. Change name of our cities, and then upon mentioning it, he kills. Each time we want anything for ourselves, he gives it 10 times to their people. GCE board, University of Bamenda, or University of Boya, University of Bamenda itself. What is all this? But my question again, two questions. Have they told you they want to federate with you? And why were you not speaking in 2017? So we say, look, you can talk. You can talk with them. Go and talk federalism with them. Why must you talk with us? You're disturbing us. We are trying to talk to United Nations, to Britain and France. You're disturbing us. You're making them feel that it's just a minority when you are the minority indeed. And if you think I'm joking, come to ground zero. And if you did not see September 22nd, come and see it now again. So that is the minority that wants to speak with the regime. They should go and speak with the regime. They should stop being an impediment to their own people. The people who are the reasons before they can speak today. Federalists could not speak after January. It took blood and defense. We fought and they released you guys. We come out now and then we are the barbarians. We are the weak. So you want to tell me 8 million people are all demons because they defend their land and defend some of your parents? Come on. This is just outrageous. The only reason we are at this war is because our brothers took side with the enemy. If they did not, the enemy would not have the infantry to stand up against us with one bullet. It's because they have our brothers who are speaking, with plantains, rice, and ekwang in their mouth all together, and nobody understands them. You want federalism? What federalism? You know, so it's very sad, my dear, that one gets emotions on this note. But I'm on the ground. I see how my people are being killed. Your people are being killed. And I see how you still call me Northwest region. I get so sick.
So some would say that the approach that's been taken by British Southern Cameroons is actually shooting ourselves in the foot, in the sense that there is an international order. We can take an example from what happened to Catalonia in Spain. They independently voted to become a country on their own within Spain, but now the leaders are actually knocked off. So some would say that in order to fight for this, we need to do this. It has to be done with tact. But that those who seem to be doing the fighting at the moment aren't doing so, and in the process are leading to other people losing their lives. Couldn't there be a different way to fight this without resorting to arms, creating ghost towns or getting kids out of schools? It's been more than a year now that children haven't been to school. It's actually led to the GC board being taken over by Yaoundé. So in some ways, some would say that we facilitated La République actually coming and taking over things in British Southern Cameroon. So talking about these things requires some level of tact. Some would advance. But in your opinion, what do you think should be happening so that this should happen in a bloodless manner from our perspective to make sure that we arrive at a solution for our, for the betterment of British Southern Cameroon in the best possible way?
Yeah, I agree with you. Not come to boast that war is a good thing. I'm here. I can see it. War is a horrendous affair. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. War is a horrendous affair. It's a very bad thing. Our people are dying by the day. They're suffering. We have huge numbers of IDPs. We have our brothers in jail. Some are in this country because they spoke for motherland. And yeah, they can take the GC board. The GC board is in the head. It's not in a place. They can take whatever they want to Yaoundé. They cannot manage it. They don't have Anglo-Saxon in their brains. What they have is to connect history. Do you know why? And that's the nonsense they have. And that's what our brothers have inherited. So they can take whatever they want. Really and truly, it's so sad that our people are dying. But again, we did not even call this war upon us. We didn't. Lawyers simply complain about erosion of their system alongside teachers. What happened to them? Lawyers were beaten, teachers were beaten, students went in protest, our daughters and sisters were raped, rubbed in mud. A few months later, other girls were taken in CPC Bali, crawled in mud for federalism. Is this what Canada went through with Quebec to have federalism? Is this what they went through? No. It's because they know that these people really have the right to their independence. So let's crack on them, hit hard on them, and quench the matter. So, yeah, I won't boast of one life that has been lost of my people or myself. I've lost relatives. Yeah, myself, I've felt the pains in the hands of the enemy. I won't boast that is anything good. But the question I'm asking, in which part of history has independence become cheap? And when it comes to this black on black annexation that we're fighting against, did we ask for this? Did we start a war? Did we not have peace plans on two big occasions? Don't we have the right to come out on the streets? Didn't they come with ships of helicopter? Didn't they start killing our parents before boys got catapults, from catapults to machetes, from machetes to then guns? Would you say that no matter what, you come into this house and kill my wife and children and I won't defend them? Is that what you're telling me? The answer is no. Have federalists come out to march and tell Biya to stop his fire on us? What they are good at doing is sit back and challenge us, doing surrogacy for the enemy. Have they come out and said, stop killing our brothers, stop these federalists? They have not done that. They don't even go on debate in Cameroon. They stay in Yaoundé and eat in Yaoundé and Douala. They don't go on debates. They are waiting for international players to come. They block them in Yaoundé and give them wrong narratives and make money. They don't have challenged. And I'm right here still challenging any federalist, one with a very good ground. Let's sit here face to face, like in the case of Southern Cameroon, and say it. Not because anybody will. The argument is so mute and so weak, not worth hearing. That in the whole of 2017 you couldn't open your mouth, and now all of a sudden you open your mouth and you're ranting. Why couldn't you speak in Cameroon in 2017? Why? Because we were locked up, and then your brothers fought for you, died for you. You come out and stand against them. It's horrible. It's a shame. So I'll say yes, there are best ways possible, but when it comes to independence, it's a hard business. Children have been out of school because the military are here shooting Martha in her home and Karen in her home. Karen is begging to kill me, they shot her. That is why we don't have schools. It's not because the lawyers call for school boycott, it's because there is insecurity. That's why my child cannot leave and go to school. Armored cars strolling over the city everywhere. You cannot travel taxi, they stop and harass you, collect money from the taxi driver, extort from you. If you return, they will shoot you. Is it realism? How has Southern Cameroon contributed in that for such barbarism? So I'm surprised that the federalists are not at all that. Their business is independent. It's not working with the enemy. Why is your business the people looking for restoration, not the enemy? Why are you not challenging the enemy? Why do you keep challenging your own people?
Well, some would say that that's very subjective. But anyways, let's move on. You've already laid down the challenge for federalists to come and out. So federalists, present yourselves and hold the debate with Mr. Abdulkarim when you meet him, so that you can present your arguments in short. So, Mr. Ali, I've seen comments to the effect that you misrepresented the situation between the Ambazonian fighters and the Fulani in Ghana. Can you clarify the position of conflict in that part of the country?
Oh, I cannot. It's breaking. I cannot hear you, please.
I'll try again.
Can you?
I can hear you, and I'll try again. So I have seen comments to the effect that you misrepresented the situation between the Ambazonian fighters and the Fulani in Aram. Can you please clarify your position on the conflict in that part of the country?
Asking about the conflict between the restoration forces, the people.
Yes, sorry,
Hello?
it was breaking. Yes, Ambazonian fighters and the Fulani in Aram. So some people feel that you misrepresented.
Okay, in whom, right? Can I hear that well? Oh, okay.
Yes,
you want to know? What do you want to know?
Some people feel that you misrepresented the situation between the Amazonian fighters and the Fulani in Aram. So can you please clarify the position on the conflict?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. I think I addressed that soon as it occurred, and I even went into a big crusade of preaching similarities between Islam and Christianity, so that we avoid this whole thing from metamorphosing into a religious conflict or a tribal conflict. What we should know is that there are many players on the ground besides the true restoration forces. The adversary have employed and exported and employed shadow restoration forces, people purporting to be restoration forces, whereas they are not. What I want to remind myself, Muslims and Christians, is that the indigenes of whom have been in womb for long. Muslims migrated into that place long time ago, about sometime in the 18th and 19th century, preferably the 19th century. They migrated there. They have settled there for over 200 years, or you can say fairly 150 years. They have never had such a conflict. They have never fought over land. The Christians in that locality or the non-Muslims have never stopped the Muslims from having their mosque or their religious businesses and vice versa. Nothing like that has happened. The big question is, why now? Why at this point? Why would an indigene kill a Muslim in womb and claiming that is because it's a Fulani person? I say the fingers are all clear to be pointed in one direction. It's a plot, it's a plan. But God said in the Quran, وَمَكَرُوهُ وَمَكَرَ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَيْرًا مَاكِرُونَ. They plan and Allah also plans. And Allah best of planner. You could see how God exposed the military. How can you call yourself security force officer and you find youth with sticks going to attack so-called armed men, and then you allow them to go attack them? If it is not your plot, whose is? So I called it then, and I'm calling it now. Myself and other Muslims, let's not be fooled. No Christian in the southern Cameroon has ever had an issue of religion or race with a Muslim. It has never happened. If it has happened, can someone state for me the instance and give us the reference, place, and time? If it is happening now, the answer is clear and the writing is on the wall.
So you feel that some of these um, conflicts that are arising are not due to religion, but they're actually engineered to give a different picture.
Yeah, I think they are all plots by the regime, Muslims and Christians.
Sorry, Mr. Ali. We've been having some issues, so you were breaking there for a bit. I hope you're back now. So, thank you for highlighting what you feel is happening with the conflict that happened in Womb. But this crisis is actually redefining religion and breeding distrust towards it as well. Why do you think that attempts by Christian Cardinal Tumi, a Roman Catholic cardinal who is celebrated and highly respected figure in Cameroon, still met with rebuffs when he attempted to organize an Anglophone conference in 2018? Hello? Can you hear me, Miss Ali? Hello? Hello? Okay, this is breaking. Miss Ali, are you back with us? Mr. Ali, are you back with us? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No? Okay. So something's happened with our audio because it appears Mr. Abdulkarim can't hear me. So I will go ahead and read some of the comments while we try and figure out what's going on. We're almost coming to the end of this discussion. But let's see what some of you are saying here in our comment section. There's quite a lot that's coming in. Someone said here, Jack King Jr., the only way to fight this without violence is to buy guns and bullets and chase La Republique out of Ambazonia. Ombel Njang feels very strongly that I am a unionist, and so Comrade Abdul should stop talking to me. Raul Gonzalez, gracias. About 95 to 98% of people are for separation, my dear. Even Atanga is with separation in spirit. tell this lady to ask this question to the oppressor. Okay, to the oppressor. I don't know who those selfish Anglophone MPs are even representing in La Republique Parliament. Mr. Ali, can you hear me? Mr. Ali, can you hear me? Okay. Fabrice Tang is saying GC board is now in Yaoundé. We have more questions, so please people bear with us as we try to get Mr. Abdul back online. There seem to be problems with connection, so it's really, really tricky. We don't want GC board in Amber says Amber Freedom. La Republic don't want to organize parliamentary elections because they know those goats will be sacked by the people. So one intellectual talking. There was a question here from Mr. Abdul saying, "Are your kids presently in school, sir? Let's hear you." And I have a gentleman here by the name of Kingsley Mboa who's saying that I must be a spy sent to spy on people. And Ombel Jang again, he thinks I'm a cheap unionist. Please end the show. Well, Umbel, sometimes you need to discuss opinions that aren't popular with people, so that is not a reason to not talk to everyone. So it's important to hear every opinion. It's not just about individual opinions. We've established that. Even Mr. Abdul knows that, which is why he's here. So mine are not, and my brothers are death. We need freedom because we'll be better on our own than with La République du Cameroon. And we have Jing Wong's call here. Any If any Southern Cameroonian think we can live without Republic as one, we must be dreaming. The war will never have an end. Those asking school resumption, I have a question for you all. What about those who are in prison for no crime committed? Don't they have the right to education as well? So we have Etengeneng, the judge Akbabala is a federalist and he travels the globe purposely to raise an alarm on the barbarism of the Bias regime. So we have all these questions, some more comments. CPDM has reached this country. I can't take it meeting someone who has the same mentality, which is denial of threats or distortion of facts. So Mr. Abdul, don't waste your time with federalists, is what we're getting from Amber Freedom. Some text Ajonkako. Is it Ajongako? Sorry if I'm massacring your name. Akawum. They're thinking of their personal interest. And we have GF Asokam, there is no retreat, no surrender. Ambazonia spirit never dies. So I'll try and bring back Mr. Abdulkarim again so that we can reduce this. We've been having some cuts, which is why I've gone back to reading the questions. Thank you, Mr. Ali, for your patience. I hope you can hear me now. Mr. Ali? Mr. Ali? Mr. Ali? Okay, so we're still having some issues here with connecting to Mr. Ali. I'll wait to see how that works out and then we'll take it from there. So I'm going to try and read a lot more comments because there are quite a lot of them. So I have a comment here from Mr. Edwin Guine Excellence, who says, it's really bad that the enemy, La République du Cameroun, is not willing to negotiate with the Southern Cameroons, but we will prevail by God's grace. Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. That's from Awanda Rose. Fru Kimbeng, We are being used by the Western world. If only we can use our brains. Well, why should we, Black Africans, be killing each other? And we have Enthrill Elf here who thinks that we have never had conflicts with Muslims. It's today that is happening. Can't you see the signature of this government? Okay, Mr. Abdul is joining me here, and I hope that that works. So I'll do this while waiting for him. Mr. Abdul, can you hear me? Mr. Abdul Ali, can you hear me? Yes, I can. So I will bring you back on air because we've been having, it's obviously been freezing, which is why I've been reading some comments in the meantime. So thank you for coming back on and for your patience. I know it's been a very long discussion and most of your supporters would rather you weren't talking to me. But of course, these discussions have to be had, which is why we're here. And you, more than anyone, understands that. So I've been reading comments of what people are saying, reacting to the discussion. And so I have a Fabrice Tang here who's saying, the fearless Abdul, may Allah bless you and protect you, sir. And Trill Ev is saying they're trying to discredit the restoration forces, but it failed woefully. So I'm just going to go to the next question, which I was saying that this crisis is redefining religion and breeding distrust towards it. Why do you think that attempts by Christian Cardinal Toomey, a Roman Catholic cardinal who is celebrated and highly respected figure in Cameroon, still met with rebuffs when he attempted to organize an Anglophone conference in 2018? Okay, unfortunately, Mr. Abdul again has gone off. I think another connection problem. Lord help us. So I will try for the next 5 minutes and then we'll see how that goes. I'm going to go back to more questions or more comments, sorry, that are coming through on our comment section. We have Jay Fritzu saying, why personalized debate? It looks like witch hunting with such questions. I'm not sure what those questions are. And we have Bamakinaka Olga who's saying, I hope Allah descends on you like wildfire. Mr. Abdul is back. Take your prayers to the God of the La République. Ombel Jang is saying, Allah has interrupted your show. He's angry with you because you support baby killers. I just hope he doesn't come back. Okay, Ombel, thank you for that. Allah is angry. Okay, interesting take. What about students locked up in jail? No schools in Ambazonia. I'll wait for Mr. Abdul to settle in and then we'll go back to him. So Fru Kimbeng is saying, what are we archiving from this senseless war in southern Cameroon? Because all lives matter. Free all arrested. We have Julie Delon who is saying, no school resumption, my families are in jail. And Kevin West who is saying, Mr. Abdul, I think your time is up now. There is no need talking with people who support La République because their family work there. Raul Gonzalez Gracias, who thinks that the hands of those Anglophones pretending to be fighting for La République are tight. People like Paul Nilong, Atanga G, Ekema, the list is long. We know they're with the independence of Southern Cameroons in the spirits.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you very well, Mr. Abdulkarim. Thank you very much for getting back to us. I'll just go straight to the questions so that we can get this quickly and out of the way because the line is getting worse by the minute. So we're talking about religion and the fact that this crisis is breeding distrust towards it. So why do you think that attempts by Christian Cardinal Toomey, a Roman Catholic cardinal who is celebrated and highly respected in Cameroon, was met with rebuffs when he attempted to organize an all-Anglophone conference in 2018?
Oh yeah, I think Cardinal Toomey is a respectable person, and even the clergy that he put together to help him with this. But the truth is, I don't think that was Cardinal Toomey's idea. I think he was coerced into this business. I think he was pushed to bring that whole thing. This is why they called it All Anglophone Conference. And the first one was this one was all Anglophones, yeah, conference. But don't forget we've had an AAC one and AAC two. It was supposed to be AAC three, but this one was changed because the agenda has changed. During AAC one and AAC two, we didn't have colonial governors present, but this one, the prerequisite was that governors would be present. But after all said and done, and you saw the cardinal defining Anglophones as per his perception. Those are not, well, those could be Anglophones, but if you want any meeting, it should be the Southern Cameroon's meeting. It's okay for us to meet and sit and talk so that we have a singular voice in case of a representation. That is very fair. But the cardinal he had a good call, but he made the wrong way. Notice the first person to refuse was La République. They don't think you are good enough to sit and talk. Notice that.
Okay, and so Mr. Abdul is out for the count again with that comment. I will just give it 2 more minutes, and if it doesn't come on, then I'm going to put it to close this discussion. Unfortunately, we do apologize fervently for the technological mishaps that we've experienced. We were hoping that this would be a very, very smooth conversation, but unfortunately, it's been a very lengthy one due to all the technical problems and the, internet connections, or the freezing of screens and all of that, and Mr. Abdul getting in and out, and he's back again. Hopefully this time he stays so that we can quickly wrap this up. So I'll just wait for that. Yes, I can hear you, so I will bring you back on the screen again for the audience. Okay, so still waiting for Mr. Abdulkarim to come back on. The internet is really problematic, people. We do apologize.
I'm right.
Oh,
I'm right here.
You can hear me. All right. So it's just we can't see. Oh, okay. Thank you. So yeah, you were saying about the conference and the rather unfortunate situation about those who came to the table and they didn't think that British Southern Cameroonians were their equals in sitting down and talking and negotiating terms.
Yeah, I was saying even Ikema made it very clear that that meeting would not hold. And notice again one thing: we could not have a meeting with the leadership of Southern Cameroons in the jail, with over 1,500 people in the jail, with over 2 million in exile, with over 150,000 who are in how do you call it, in refugee camps. We want an all-inclusive meeting, don't we? So the cardinal, his meeting was flawed in many senses, and this is because
At every side of the debate, we are representing the varied views that are available in this realm of the Anglophone crisis or British Southern Cameroon's discussion. So it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about the discussion, it's about finding solutions, and it's about our guest star today, Mr. Abdul Karim Ali. And it was about getting him to expatiate a bit more on some of his views that he's expressed in the past so that people can understand what is driving them. Because most interviews he's had, they've been very short, so people don't really get to hear more from him on why he said certain things. And so snippets of conversations aren't going to address that. That's the reason why we have discussions such as these. So more comments. The Anglophone values and French values are so different, it's difficult to bribe an Anglophone. So as we can clearly see, it's very difficult to get rid of being called Anglophone or Francophone. These appellations, granted, people say colonial relishes from the past or vestiges, but we're stuck with them. Um, I have a comment here from Njukang Biacha. The people of Southern Cameroon didn't declare any war. France and her proxy, French Cameroon D. The people of Southern Cameroon are merely defending themselves. We are fighting for our survival. No to any school resumption in the Southern Cameroons come September 2019. We are at war. Abdulkarim Ali, you're my hero. Yes, indeed, Fabrice Tang. Talking about internet connection, it's real. The struggle is real. The internet connection is wahala. That's what has made this really wrong. So I have a Froom Kimbang. I don't know why those French military guys can't ask their generals or ministers to join them and send their children to go and fight the war in Southern Cameroon. They cannot do that because the lives of their children matters. But the lives of those of young military guys means nothing in that of the civilians. So someone is of the opinion that there should be no confusion here from maybe one of the comments, people saying, well, who's refusing school to our children? Mr. Biya declared war on our people and the war is still ongoing. Nowhere in the world is school going on in a warring zone. And I'll read a last comment. And if Mr. Abdul doesn't get back, unfortunately, I'm going to have to bring this to a close because, interesting. Ambas Pekin, La République is tampering with Abdulkarim's phone lines. Possibly. Oh my days. Okay. So you sit in Auckland, New Zealand, enjoying good network reception, and you're there supporting a regime who doesn't advance on its technology aspects. Shame on you. Yes, there's good technology up north, but everybody everywhere in the world should have access to free technology. There should be no internet cutting. There should be no internet in the Anglophone region. Or, most governments use that kind of tactic to try and stop people from speaking out. And we all understand that it's a right for everyone to have. So it's become a control tool. But Nebat Payas, I'm not in Auckland, New Zealand. Thank you. So Ambazonia will launch their own personal satellite and internet will be free. Wow, I would like to see that because I really need free internet myself. So there's people saying here, you people talking about federation, I want to ask if you guys have feelings. That is what happens when we have a government who doesn't advance on its technological aspects. It's just poor network and has nothing to do with Allah. So, all right, people, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for all your comments. You've been really fair. Your comments, you feel strongly about them, which you're entitled to. I have nothing against anyone who said anything against me. It's all fair in love and war, isn't it? So unfortunately, I'm going to have to bring this to a close without Mr. Abdulkarim Ali being here because of the technological issues that we've encountered throughout. So we've heard it all from the man himself. He answered questions, he answered some of them, and we hope that you enjoyed your time with us and will come back for other special guests in the pipeline who will keep stimulating our intellectual spectrum. So these discussions are meant for us to think a bit more about our positions and about our arguments and see how viable, how strong they are, and whether or not, we should think twice about them. So many thanks to Delhi Singha for engineering these conversations and for creating this platform, Delhi TV. And also to Kingsley Shete Newu for support and production in the background. And until next time, it will be another date with a star. I have been your host, and humbly, my name is Pamela Bonki. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Goodbye.